The Ray Epps whisper. For a long time, we've been wondering, what did he say during the breach at the Capitol? You see the still of him whispering into the ear of a young man known as Ryan Samsel. And for some time, we've been wondering what Ryan Samsel heard. And he reports that to us today. And you see here is the slow-mo replay in GIF form of Ray Epps doing the whisper, walking right up to Samsel, grabbing him, whispering in the ear, cameras jerking around, and it moves on. Now, Ray Epps, as we've talked a lot about here, has been somebody who's been on the FBI's most wanted list for some period of time. In fact, this is the FBI post that is still up from the Washington field office, posted originally on August 17, 2021, after the FBI has had a ton of time to investigate this. They say the FBI is seeking information regarding people who committed violence at the Capitol. If you recognize someone, please send in a tip. And so if you just pause and you look through this, do you see anybody in here? Oh my goodness, there's so many different people here. Do you see this one right here? Ray Epps. And we see his face. So that's him. Engaged in violence. Still public and still available for anybody to see. And so what did happen there? What was the whisper? Well, the article comes from our friend Julie Kelly. And here is what she says. January 6 defendants. And one of them says, Ray Epps, they're protecting him like crazy. Said he's one of the most consequential and complicated individuals involved in the events of January 6. Ryan Samsel, the man we saw in the hoodie with the backwards hat. She says that he was a Pennsylvania barber. Drove to Washington the morning of J6 with his girlfriend. They wanted to watch the speech. Couldn't hear the president, though. So they walked towards the East Capitol Hill, where there was another large group, including some people of the Proud Boys, which we talked about here. Samsel soon found himself on the front lines of a protest the national media and Joe Biden immediately branded as an insurrection. We saw the video. Samsel approaches a weak line of Capitol police officers, bike racks there, shortly before 1 p.m., the time before Congress convened a joint session. Wearing a hoodie underneath a jean jacket, wearing the red MAGA hat, Samsel appears to engage one of the officers outside. Interactions between the protesters and the police got heated. The officer in front of Samsel shoved a bike rack with an area closed sign into a front of a few protesters, including Samsel. The officer shoved the bike rack into Samsel. Samsel grabbed the fence. He then proceeded to remove his jacket and turn his hat backwards, as if spoiling for a fight. Now, at that point, someone could be heard saying behind Samsel, "Hey, hey, hey!" A large man, also donning a red cap, grabbed Samsel's right shoulder, pulled him away from the officer. The man spoke directly to Samsel, then cupped his hand to whisper in his ear. Samsel immediately returned to the barricades, where a shoving match ensued. The racks and the police were overrun. The individual who spoke to Samsel remained right behind him. Who was that man? That man was Ray. And we have a brief snippet of the video that we saw, but we can see people approach and there is some shouting. Cops are there. We see Ryan Samsel with the red hat on, and things are about to get a little bit heated. We fast forward. The cop here apparently pushes the bike rack. Samsel now is going to take off his jacket, as we see here, and he's still standing there, flips his hat around. Hey, he's getting aggressive, and Ray Epps walks right in and whispers in the ear. Oh, there it is. Then things get a little bit more aggressive, and that's where the breach occurs. So she tells us, all of that now being revealed, that it would become a pivotal moment in the events of January 6th. In fact, this is a snapshot of Epps whispering to Samsel. It remains on the Twitter page, the one that we just saw. Now, what Epps, the still uncharged agitator, who first became the subject of public scrutiny, said to Samsel in that iconic exchange has been the subject of speculation for more than 2 years. The New York Times reported that Epps told the FBI tip line that he attempted to de-escalate the situation between Samsel and the police. Epps gave the same story to the Select Committee. Okay, you know, that's not why we're here, is what Epps told the committee about his interaction. Epps told Liz Cheney, he said, no, I said, that's not why we're here. He said, you've got to be peaceful. I pulled him back and told him, it's not what we're about. That's interesting, because the FBI seemed to think that Ray Epps was involved in violence. So they're trying to dig into what he has done. He tells everybody, I was just saying be peaceful. Samsel's initial FBI interview, according to the Times reporter, Alan Feuer, provided a similar account. He said Samsel said the same thing, telling investigators that a man he did not know came up to him and suggested he relax, according to a recording obtained by the New York Times. He came up to me and said, dude, his entire words were, relax, the cops are doing their job. But the story has changed a little bit. Samsel apparently told the New York Times that Epps said, relax, the cops are just doing their job. The story has changed. But in a phone conversation with Julie Kelly and American Greatness last week, Samsel disputed Epps's testimony and contradicted what he reportedly told the FBI a few weeks after the Capitol protest. So the real question is, what did Epps say to Samsel? Epps said to me, don't pull. I've got people. We have to push through. That's a quote obtained by Julie Kelly from American Greatness. Now, Samsel, arrested on January 30th, 2021, has been behind bars ever since. Prosecutors said that Samsel does have a criminal history, and that justified his pretrial detention. That doesn't really matter. There were other people that also didn't have any criminal history. The government also maintains that Samsel was on parole. He says he was on probation. Now, Samsel is in custody at the Metro Detention Center in Brooklyn. Apparently, that facility houses extremely dangerous, violent, and escape-prone inmates. And Julie acknowledges. She says, considering his record and his public silence on the matter over the past 2 years, Samsel's new claims about what Epps said to him does warrant some skepticism. But a closer look at the court docket shows how the DOJ is intentionally delaying Samsel's trial, because maybe we want to talk about this stuff at trial. Maybe Ray Epps gets another subpoena that he has to dodge during the trial. And maybe the DOJ is delaying because they don't want this to come out at all, because a trial forces some accountability. You get to call witnesses. We have the confrontation clause in this country. Amazing. And so presumably they don't want the public to learn more about Epps's involvement. Samsel said prosecutors are protecting him like crazy. Samsel's case file seems to support that view. Prosecutors did not indict Samsel until 7 months after his arrest. Violation of federal law requires the government to file charges within 30 days. Samsel said during that time, the government tried to coerce him. They tried to get him to say Epps did not instigate any misconduct. And they wanted him to say that Joseph Biggs, a Proud Boys leader who was recently convicted of seditious conspiracy in a nuts trial that we covered, was carrying a gun even though he was not. Biden's DOJ charged Samsel 7 counts, including multiple assaults. He's been transported to 16 different prisons, attacked by DC guards, also requiring medical attention due to his injuries. Trial date has been moved numerous times. They've added co-defendants and new charges, a tried and true delay tactic. 2 days before both sides were expected to file a schedule in preparation for an April 24th trial, Matthew Graves filed a 4th superseding indictment against Samsel, forcing another postponement. So now we talk about our right to a speedy trial. Maybe Samsel just wants to have his day in court so he can air all of this out. You've got evidence? Prove it. Let's go. So the DOJ keeps delaying, and the judges just keep rubber stamping it. Well, this is a complicated conspiracy case or sedition. This was an insurrection in America. Samsel's new trial date is now October 23rd, which means he's going to have been behind bars, listen to this, for nearly 3 years. 3 years behind bars with no trial. A Biden appointee overseeing the case. Samsel now faces 12 charges, languished in jail for more than 28 months. Epps is a free man, even though Graves' office could easily indict Epps on many charges. Samsel, who like Epps never entered the building. I'm pretty sure Epps entered the building. My take is Epps entered the building. I believe Epps did enter the building from his transcript. It's common belief that he didn't. But her point remains. Epps was more violent and more active than many people that day and was never charged. Why isn't Epps charged with obstruction? In other words, I think Epps did worse than Samsel. Why isn't Epps charged with the obstruction felony? Since he was among the first set of protesters that eventually forced Congress to suspend the session. Why is Epps not charged with impeding law enforcement and civil disorder? He, like Samsel, crossed police barricades and remained on restricted grounds for at least 90 minutes as officers fought with the crowd. Further, Epps was wearing military garb, including a tactical vest, pre-planning for violence. And what about Epps and his text boasting to his nephew at 2:12? I was in front with a few others. I also orchestrated it. He told the January 6th committee that he had helped get people there. Why does Epps continue to evade prosecution? So you can see an amazing article, and I'll absolutely invite you to go over to American Greatness to finish reading it, because Ray Epps continues to mysteriously evade any consequences of his action. And as we learn more, we now have an alternative take. Maybe Ray Epps said something differently during that very curious whisper to Ryan Samsel. Samsel's in prison, been in prison without a trial for a long time. Sounds like he would like a trial, but hasn't been afforded one. Meanwhile, Ray Epps is driving around in his very nice RV, avoiding subpoenas, avoiding any consequences for his actions.